the Nipah virus was discovered in 1999. It's a zoonotic virus, and the natural reservoir for this virus are the fruit bats. And the earlier outbreaks that took place in 1999 were in Singapore and Malaysia, and primarily the spread was from bats to pigs, and then from when the pigs were butchered, and that's where the humans got infected. But then since 2001, the outbreaks have been taking place primarily in Bangladesh and India. It's kind of recurrent, but sporadic, and only a few cases. Like up to date, we have only around 750 cases altogether. But of the 750 cases, as you mentioned, very high case fatality rate, more than 400 of them actually died from it. But the risk of transmission is very low, and thereby the cause for concern is relatively limited compared to, say, the COVID pandemic that we had, because one of the major issues with SARS-CoV-2 was there was a lot of asymptomatic transmission, like people who didn't show symptoms could transmit the disease. While in the case of Nipah, it's very rare, like somebody who doesn't show symptoms is unlikely to transmit the infection. So once you are able to take care of symptomatic patients, and then you stop potential transmission from those patients to other, to their contacts, then primarily the outbreak pretty much ends out there.
Yeah. Yes, and then what symptoms do people who contract Nipah virus suffer from?
It starts off like similar to flu, like headache, fever, but then it can actually progress towards encephalitis, which is basically the inflammation of the brain. And that's where it becomes quite severe, and high case fatality rates happen at that time. But that being said, it's when they do show the symptoms, and that's when they are likely to transmit either through droplets or also through like bodily fluids. And thereby it's much more easier to contain, because once you stop that transmission pathway, practically you stop the outbreak there. Yeah.
Yes, and is there a need for sort of, the public, particularly in West Bengal, where there were these 2 cases, to be alert, but of course not alarmed?
It's very likely to be very controlled, like even within locally, even within the area, like within West Bengal, it's in Basra, very close to Calcutta, that there should not be that much of a concern. And what you have seen so far, historically, there have been few cases in each of the outbreak, but they have to be well supported. Like currently people are having the Nipah infection, they need to be supported intensively until they recover well. But also making sure we follow the basic public health measures of hygiene, and also like case isolation, and then making sure all those protocols are in place, and then that will automatically make sure we cut off the transmission. Yeah.
Yes. So the 2 things we know about, in terms of how to deal with it, is that there are no vaccines for Nipah virus, but also that the fatality rate is quite high. What are the existing treatments at the moment to treat someone who has contracted Nipah?
And again, we don't have any licensed vaccines, nor do we have any approved treatments either. So the only way what we can do to make sure that people can recover is provide intensive supportive care. But there's really, I'm hoping that their immune system will be able to pick up and able to fight the disease. But we don't have any cure approved so far, nor a vaccine.
Yes, and we've seen pictures earlier of airports in Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia doing screenings of passengers. Are authorities and people more cautious about reports of viruses out there, even a small outbreak like Nipah in this instance, because we've had that pandemic a few years ago?
And even before the COVID pandemic, since the SARS outbreak that we had in 2003. The SARS-CoV-1, the first virus, and that virus also only spread when patients were symptomatic, and that's why we were able to contain it quite well in 2003. But before we were able to understand the transmission pathway, it spread to multiple countries. And then since the impact was especially quite high in East Asia, since then, the airport screening has been almost like readily deployed almost all the time, even in normal peace times, as we call it. And then, of course, the screening becomes even more heightened when there are outbreaks occurring in nearby countries. Yeah.